Yes, remember that building property is not like buying a pair of shoes. You can risk it with a $70 pair of shoes, but when you're putting out thousands upon thousands, some of it your life savings, borrowings, earnings to build, you need to do your due diligence first and foremost. So if someone refers a person to you, that's a good step because at least it says that they trust that person, they have had interaction with that contractor, and they were okay. But above and beyond that, now you have to do your homework. Don't be afraid to ask for references. Can you give me? You might give me the numbers of 2 or 3 people that you did work for, and some of those people will tell you, listen, come and see what he do for me, so that you can go and see the quality and caliber of the work, get some feedback from others, and check around within the industry. Barbados is small. All you have to say is Bob Bobby, and you hear people say, nah, man, left you out. So ask around. Don't be afraid to check up on the candidate that you are going to have taking on a major project. So that's number one, first and foremost.
It is also very important that people negotiate the contracts. So you want to be absolutely clear on what you are expecting from this contractor and what they're expecting from you.
Indeed. So next up, you make sure that if you invited 1 or 2 persons to give quotes on, developing the property, do not just proceed with this figure low. He only charging 30,000. All them going with 100. I going with him. No, 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 no. There's a reason he submitted a low ball. He's trying to get this work at all costs because sometimes his other work might not be able to stand up and speak for itself. It also means he may not have been as thorough with his costings as some of the others. So do not necessarily rush for the low ball offer. Now, pertaining to what you said about the contract, feel free to ask for a specific sit-down meeting where you are just dealing with contract details. So talk me through, payments start when? Okay, they're due next when? All right, what are the materials you're using? So you're importing them. Do you have them here? Good. Are you bringing 6 men onto the site or 12? Get a thorough feeling and impression as to what is going to be going on around your project. Nothing wrong with having a meeting just for the contract only. So you have to start off with these things up front.
That's right. And, from experience, I can tell you that working in a timeline for the work and a payment schedule, those are top of the table when you're doing these types of things. You definitely want to know when you will get the work done. You don't want to have your project in limbo. Most certainly, none of us do. So sometimes you can end up there if you don't work on some timelines and maybe building some penalties so that, the contractor will want to get the project done.
Correct. Also, I would recommend that run when you hear that they want a high percentage of the price up front. You know what that means? That means that they're not necessarily going to deliver. Even if they don't deliver, they have enough money to go down to Zimbabwe and live happily. So be careful of high percentage requests at the start of the project. You just have to ask around and get a general sense of what the norm is in terms of down payment to get the process rolling. It might be 10, it might be 20, 30%. Check first within the industry just to confirm. But if that person is telling you, I need half up front because I have to buy materials, etc., no, keep rolling because that money, they can't account for that money. Also, when you are going through the meeting with them, get a sense of the materials that they're using. Be wary too if they're offering to, I got some material left over from such and such that I could use to save you some money. That's a red flag because if they have material left over, it means that they did not work out their figures for the previous project. They may have over-ordered. So what are they going to do for you if they have that material too that just happened to fall off the truck? So be a little cautious when they're offering their help in that form of getting you some material, extra material, because it might be second rate, it might be subpar, it might be stolen, it might be from another project. You don't know. So be wary of that.
Absolutely. And is there anything that you should never tell a contractor that might give them, the wrong impression about you or what have you? Because it's a two-way relationship. So there might be some things that you definitely do not want to say or do in your negotiations when you're preparing to decide who will work on this project with you.
Never say the words, I trust you.
Too
Never,
late.
ever, never, ever you believe it. No. If ever they want to make changes along the way, even in terms of materials and so forth, they have to share that information with you. Be wary too if all of a sudden after the contract you hear, well, we're going to make a little adjustment because, the prices increased. So now I gonna need a little bit more money. What you do in that contract too is make sure that you sign off saying whatever prices they have quoted are relevant for the next, whether it's 60 days, 90 days, whatever, so that there isn't a lot of shifting throughout the life of the project. Be wary too of additional enhancements. Sometimes what they do, the quote that they might give you might be very basic, but all of a sudden they then tell you, oh, but remember the bathroom that no, we're here, will we agree on their account for the shower stall? Remember? So make sure everything is detailed and thorough so that they don't jump on you with these additional surprises, these additional payment requests, and so forth. Now, one thing I would say is during the life of the project, pay attention to any mumblings and grumblings from the subcontractor. If you're hearing from paint to man, I ain't get paid for 2 weeks, this bare ignorance. What is going on with your money? Ask questions. Ask questions. And don't be afraid if all else fails to pay out the contractor for the work done to date and switch because you don't want to be left holding the bag.
Absolutely. I mean, these are all some really relevant points. The point you made about the change orders, very important.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend who ended up with almost $100,000 in change orders that he didn't even know happened. And and then you can
Ridiculous.
be held to ransom to pay them as
Yes,
you move forward. That's right. So
yes.
what about, and for me, I think this could be a bone of contention. Some
Mhm.
people say that you should, some people say you shouldn't. Telling the contractor what your budget is.
Well, the reality is, I think it all boils down to contract and documentation. Because you have to be realistic. If you don't give them a guideline, they will go till kingdom come. So you can set limits and limitations and make sure the contract details that. They don't have to know that you have $300,000 more in your pocket, but you could come out and say, look, I want to build a property that is 250,000. Let us sit down and work out together the materials, labor, and so forth that would be involved in that. That is what I want for the project. Any overruns, such as could be at you. But you have to detail limitations. Otherwise, you are setting yourself up. I would say also document every single thing. So from the contract details, yes, you make sure you have your signatures showing that we have mutually agreed on such and such. When it comes to time to do stage payments because the floor is now in place and the whatever is in place, don't be afraid to take a picture and we're signing next to the picture saying we have agreed that the floor is in place, etc., etc. Because it stops them from coming back to and saying, but I didn't finish this or I didn't such and such. Also, when you're walking around, look at the materials used, ask questions. Remember in the contract, they told you that you're going to need quarter inch of plywood for this, that, and the other. How come you're only now seeing a slither, an eighth of an inch? What happened to the other eighth, right? And last but not least, you have to be present or have a representative present. I know of persons who have taken on the brave, daunting task of building well overseas, being sent photos, and come back and found a mound of dirt. You have to be present. You have to be popping out to your workplace and just showing up randomly to see what is going on. Or if you're overseas, send someone on your behalf.
Absolutely. I've heard quite a few stories about the mounds of
Mm,
dirt as well. Quite sad. And like you said, pictures, progress reports,
yes,
receipts, receipts with no real
awful.
receipts.
Or receipts from a previous
Absolutely.
job, and they're not taking the picture of the date, and you think stuff is happening.
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy.